Mesechta Sanhedrin, Daf Kuf Dalet Amar Aleph, starting from 3 lines from the bottom. Amar Rabbi Yechna. The Gemara is going to tell us the cheshivas of Hachnasas Archim. So the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yechna, Neshum Rabbi Yis ben Kisma. Rabbi Yechna said in the name of Rabbi Yis ben Kisma, Gedoyle Legima. Legima means tasting, and here over here means giving food to Archim and those that pass by to have food for them to eat. Sheichika Shtei Mishpachas, because of somebody who didn't do that mitzvah of Achnas Archim, two mishpachas were distant mi Yisrael. Amin u'moyev. It says we're not allowed to marry. Never. Lo yavi amini u'mayovi, even if they're misgaya, B'kal Hashem, they cannot come into the B'kal Hashem. They do al devar. Asher lo kitnu eschem alech m'mayim. When the Yidden came out of Mitzrayim and they passed Amin u'moyev, they gave them nothing. They didn't give them anything. Afayim zeh what is it? He gave him nothing. Rabbi Yechon the day Yomar, Rabbi Yechon himself gave him meaning on his own sheet. He explained Gedayla Legima that it mirachekes es hakroivim, it distanced those that are close, umekareves es harachoikim, and it brings close those that are far. And the Gemara is going to explain how. Umalem es einayim min harashoyim, and it conceals Hashem. Hashem turns his eyes away min harashoyim from the evil people, if they do the mitzvah of Achnas Archim. And because of Achnas Archim, a Navi of Baal, Navi Abal, the false Naviim, had the Hashos HaShechina that they were able to say Ruach HaKodesh. And if one is a Shegik, it's as if he's amazing. Now we're going to break it up. What did the words mean? Somebody in connection to Achnas Archim. Says Yomar, like we said before, Amin u'moyev. Amin u'moyev were kroivim to the Yidden. So we can't say literally kroivim, because Amin u'moyev came from Lot, his nephew. But it says when they gave to Yisai was called Rachek, and Yisai came from Keturah, which was a wife of Abraham. He was even closer, and you called him Rechekim. So what does it mean kroivim here? So he says kroivim mean in distance. They were very close. Shchenim. Says Umekareves has Rechekim. And it brings close those that are distant. Now, we learn out from Yisai. Rabbi Yechon had said, B'schad, that Yisai said to his daughters, to the daughters of Mesha, Kiren and Loi b'yochel lechem, call up Mesha, Zalo kum nesem, let him come eat with us. Zochav b'nei Banov, the grandchildren, the descendants of Yisai, were merited v'yashval elishkis hagazis. They sat amongst the Sanhedrin Hagdalah. Should never, like it says in the Pasuk, Yisai's descendants. Should never, like it says in the Pasuk, Einaklach. Where do we see that? Should never, like it says in Tebirah Yamin. Or Mishpachei Soifrim, the Mishpachas of the learned ones, Yoishvei Yabitz, those that dwelled in Yabitz, were the families of Tir-Osim, Shim-Osim, Shuch-Osim. And it says, Heima Hakinim, I want you to remember the words, Hakinim, the name Kinim. Heima Hakinim, Aboim HaChamas. They were kinim that came from Hamas. Avi Beis Reichov, the father Beis Reichov. Oh, it's another sort of Hamas over here. So he says that those Sofrim are the ones that sat in the Lishis Asgazis. They were part of the Sanhedrin.
What's the word Yaibitz mean?
No, that's the name of the city. Yeah. Over there, it says over there about the kinim. We said Hema kinim ubnei kini choyse Moshe. So you see, Kani was the father-in-law of Moshe. Kani was Yisai.
He had a few names.
Yeah, he had a few names. Amongst them was Kani.
Right?
Yeah, yes. He went up from the city of dates, as Bnei Yehuda, together with Yehuda, Midbar Yehuda, to Midbar Yehuda, Asher B'Negev Arad, which was south of Arad. Vayelach, and the whole Shevet of Kini, the children of Kini, Vayeshev Esam, they sat together with the nation, meaning with Am Yisrael. From here we learn out that the Kinim were from the children, the Bnei Kinim were from the descendants of Yisai, who sat in the Lishis Hagazis. So you see, because Yisai said to his daughter, bring Moshe, let him come and eat with us, the Inyan of Achnas Archim, that's why.
That was the reason that
the many reasons. But we're saying that's chus that he gave the food, that's why it happened.
Even though he was living further than the other ones.
Yeah, that has not. No, Yisrael lived further. Yes, well, very good. What does it mean? It conceals the Hashem conceals. It doesn't look at the Rishayim. Micha is one of the children that the party hits. He sets in the vant, and Moshe Rabbeinu was upset. So David says, "I'm telling you, all those that are stuffed in the wall are Rishayim." And you want, you'll test them out. Pull out one of them, let them live. Micha was a terrible person. Micha was when it came to find
Where are you coming, Micha?
from Paris, that's Kinder
In the van.
in the van. So he smashed them, he killed them.
Right.
So Moshe Rabbeinu was telling the Eibishter, "What's this?" So the Eibishter said, "I'm telling you, they're all Rishon. You want to pull out one?
Not only a show, no one will come out of there.
Nothing. So he said,
So even though
says he
it's a
let him
part-
test
it's a
out.
part of the mitzvah then.
you want to, yeah, but you want to test out one."
Micha's a Maisa.
Okay, so Micha, so what's one of the stories I'm going to tell you? Micha, he was amongst those that were standing around when Moshe Rabbeinu had to bring up the Orim from Yosef, because the Mitzrayim, what did they do? They promised us to take him out of Mitzrayim. They put him in the eyes in the Orim, so it should go straight down to the bottom of the sea. So how are you going to get him up? So he wrote the Shem HaFredosh on a piece of metal, and it went up. Micha, the Moshe Rabbeinu, and Micha grabbed it, and then he held it. The Shem HaFredosh. Yeah, and then when they went to the meeting, with them had to gemacht the Egel Hazov. He is the one that made it. Okay, anyway, and he was terrible in many ways. Anyway, it says Masha Shchin Hal Navi Habal, but and the Eibishter. So it says the Eibishter didn't kill him. Malav is saying even though Micha was a Rasha, it says Hanichaloi Bashamayim. The Eibishter said, let him. Don't punish him for his sins because he did Achnas Zachem. Micha, yeah. Masha Shchina Al Navi Abal. The Eibishter rest. He gave people. He always had an open house. Masha Shchina Al Navi Abal. The Shchina rested on a false Navi. Mechaveda Shel Idoi Hanavi. The story with Idoi Hanavi was by Yerab Menavat. He came to say Navis. He told Yerab in Beis El, your mizbeach that you're shechting to this getchka is going to split. It's going to open up. It's going to split, and it did split. Anyway, Ida was told, when you go back, don't go back the same path. Go a different path. Don't eat by anybody or drink by anybody. Come back home. Don't.
Who told him this?
That's what he had in the Navi's from Kadosh Baruch Hu. On his way back, a Navi came and told him, "Come to me." He says, "No, I have a Navi's. I shouldn't go this path. I have to go this path and not to eat and drink." He says, "But I just got Navi's." He tells him that you should come to
He
me.
was a
A false Navi. He came and he ate and drank. But since he gave him food, so he was able to say Navi's, a real Navi's. What was Navi's? Once you leave this house, you're going to die. Okay, that's what it was. It says that it seemed like it says the words of Hashem came to this false Navi that he. Jetzt is tzaddik. You know, jetzt you give him the fashmekta fish. You know the whole story. He ends up getting sick. Nichma Beilim. Okay. Yeah. So that's what this guy did. Okay. V'shigi gasa. Oila kizadin. A sheikh is like amazing. What is that talking about? So Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Rabbi Ilimali Hilvo Yehinas David Shtei Kikis Lachem. If Yonasan was a good friend of David, but if he would have given him food, 2 meals for the day to David HaMelech before he escorted him, then he could have the city of the Irakahanim. He was hungry. He needed the food. So he ran to the city of Noiv to get food.
But he didn't know probably.
What do you mean? The pale mamish Yonasan. He could have. He was a tzaddik. Yeah, but he was a shoygeg in not giving him food, and he got killed for it. David HaMelech was hungry, and Yonasan should have escorted them with food. He didn't. So they came to Noiv. They needed food. They Irakahanim, and they fed them. So number one, Doyig said lashon hara about them. He says that they're rebelling against Shaul HaMelech. Shaul HaMelech, and he killed out the whole city. So you had so many people, and Shaul HaMelech and his 3 sons, including Yonasan, got killed before it. Because of it, because there was no food. Like this, if he would have had food, he wouldn't have gotten food from Noiv. Everything would have been all right. It says, the city of Kahan would have not been destroyed. And Doyeg wouldn't lose Eilam Abba. Because of that, he said, false and lashon hara. And Shaul and his 3 children wouldn't have been killed, including Yonasan got killed. If Yeinasim wouldn't have been a Shegig, so you see Shegig is like a Mason. Now the Gemara is asking, going back to the Shaila, the Mishnah said there are 3 Malachim that weren't Zeicha, Teilam Haba, and 4 commoners, 4 Hadyetis weren't. So Achaz was a king. Why didn't they add Achaz? Achaz is given Hagefel Harash also. Even Avodah Zarah, he got people to do Avodah Zarah. I don't know if he's the one that... Yeah, sure. Because Achaz was between 2 tzaddikim. His father was a tzaddik and his son was a tzaddik. Ben Yoisam, his father was a tzaddik Yoisam. Lebein Chizkiyo, his son Chizkiyo was a tzaddik.
How you were to be a Russia?
It's less mazel, yeah. Rabbi Yosef Amar b'pnei Shayo le'beishis panim Yeshayo. He had embarrassment from Yeshayo. Where do we see that? Shenema, it says in the pasuk, "Vayema Hashem al Yeshayo." The Eibishter said to Yeshayo, "Tzei no lekas Achaz, go towards Achaz. Atu u'Shayoshuv bin Echa. You together with your son Shayoshuv. Al K'tzei to the edge, to Olas Habrecha al Yena, to the upper pool. Al Mesilas Sdei Kovis, to the road of the washers." So the Gemara asks, what a road of washers? Vesh? My Kovis, what does Kovis mean? Says the Chavshinu la'apei v'cholav. Others say the Piddush means not Kovis, Chavshinu, meaning that Ochas hid his face. He didn't want Yeshayo to recognize him because he was a sinner. He didn't want Yeshayo to sin. So for that midah, because he was mizbayish ma'aveinaisav, that he hid his face, because of that midah taiva, he didn't lose his olam haba. He could have the other say uchla dekatzei sachav hareish b'cholav. He says it does mean kovis avesha. When you wash clothing and you take the clothing still wet, you put it into a basket that has holes so the water can leak through. So he took that basket and put it over his head right when he came. So that Yeshayo shouldn't recognize him. So because of that midah teva, that at Yahat Busha from seine Avenes, he was a zeich deilam haba. In fact, you want a Navi, sure. He was the Navi that told the Chizkiah, you know, you're going to live another 15 years. Anyway, why didn't they count in the Rishimas of the Malachim who were Shayim that didn't have Olam Haba? And he had a son that was a tzaddik, Yeshayo. So don't count Menashe amongst those that didn't have Olam Haba. His father was Chizkiyahu, who was a tzaddik. Just like by Oman, you're saying his son was a tzaddik, Menashe's father was a tzaddik. Says Gemara, no. B'ra mezakeh Abba. Son could be mezakeh for the father. Abba loy mezakeh for the b'ra. A father cannot be mezakeh for the son. It says in the pasuk, "Maybe Yadi Matzel, Ein Avraham Matzel Sish B'nai Yishmael." Avraham cannot save Yishmael from his einish in the Shemaim. He was a Rasha. Others say Taki did tshuva, but we're going with the day that he was a Rasha. But Yitzchak Matzel is B'nai Esav, and Yitzchak cannot save Esav. So the Mefarshim explain a son is like a continuation of the father. The father might have sinned, but if the son is a tzaddik, he's rectifying. He's an extension of the father. But the son the son is extension of the father. But let's say the father cannot protect the son. The son can protect the father because he's come from the father. He's an extension doing mitzvahs to forgive. If you want to hear how the lashon is, he says, the parents bring the son to the world. The life of a child is totally in the parents. And they have life through the son. If the sons do mitzvahs, it's as if the fathers are performing mitzvahs to the sons. The life of the parents are not telling the ben, so the parents cannot be saved by the ben, but the ben
is to save the father.
The ben could save the father. Okay, so now that you explain that the reason why he was saved, why Amin was saved because of his son, so Achaznami was saved because of his son. Like even the Mishum Kveidish Chizkiyahu, he was saved because of his son. You don't have to say because he showed that he had busha from Yeshayahu, you can explain, because he had a son that was a tzaddik that protected him. So you don't have to come on to the midah teva that he had of the embarrassment of his sins. Why didn't they enumerate Yehoyakim was a rasha between those that don't have a chayv chayim abba? And you want to assume that Rabbi Chiya Rabbi Avuya, because of Rabbi Chiya Rabbi Avuya. Rabbi Chiya Rabbi Avuya. Ksiv it says, I will go to show Yehoyakim on the skull of Yehoyakim zeis v'yidacheres, that there's going to be this nekama and an additional nekama. What's the story? Zekena Rabbi Preda, the Zayda of Rabbi Preda, and he says the Zayda was Rabbi Chiya Rabbi Avuya, the one that's mentioned about the skull that has Zois, one Nekama and another Nekama. So that was the Zayd of Rabbi Preda. So Rabbi Preda, Ashka Kugol to the Havakashadi B'Shadi Yerushalayim. Rabbi Preda found a skull that was thrown to the gates of Yerushalayim. Uksibba, and on it was written, he looks at the skull and says, Zois B'Ida Cheres. He doesn't know what it is. Kvar B'Loi Kabra. He buries it and it pops out of the ground. Kvar B'Loi Kabra. He did it again. He puts it in the ground, boom, pops out. He remembers the story. Gogolte shall Yehoyakim. This is the skull of Yehoyakim. The Sibei Kvuris Chamei Yikav Sach V'Hashlef L'Geima. Maholo LaShari Yishalayim. It says that the skull of Yehoyakim. This is the skull of Yehoyakim, upon which is written that he's going to be buried like a Chameir that cannot be buried, that will be thrown to the sides. So too, his skull was thrown. It's Maholo LaShari Yishalayim, because that was the Eibush that decreed upon him. Yehoyakim is a Gefalach Harasha. It says the Gemara, So Preda said, Rabbi Preda said, Malku is the Chvarta king, a Jewish king. It's not right that he should lie in such a busha. So he wrapped it around with silk, fancy silk clothing, the skull, and he put it in his closet. In the closet. Yes, exact same Gemara. Not long ago. I said it also.
What a Yulish mind. A genius.
What's this? Munich Bekufsa.
Man, yeah.
So, you know what Munich Bekufsa is? It's mamish like in box. So the wife had seen this beautiful, the whole story. It's the exact same story. And there it says in longer, so the women were telling her, this is probably his ex. So anyway, here he goes short. He says, Sabra, the Itzakamai Saba, she thought he's holding on to it because he loved his first wife.
It's wrapped up.
It's wrapped up in the Shiraya, and he can't.
The skull of his first wife was
Why?
wrapped
And
up.
he wrapped up, and he doesn't want to forget about it.
This was his second wife.
His second wife saw this thing. It says, "Whoa, this guy still has love for the first wife. This is terrible." Like coming on the Shalah, he can't forget about her. Sugar Tanura Ukalsa. She lit up the oven, turned on the oven, and burnt the whole skull.
Incinerated.
And he was happy because Haina Lesiv, he says, now everything was fulfilled. Zois, there was one to come that his skull was thrown around, and that was burnt. Okay, she didn't know. She thought she's getting back on him. He was happy. It was the pussy was fulfilled. Zag the Yomar Tanya when you learned the Braisa. Rab Shimon Elazar said, because of the sin that Melech Chizkiyahu, when he was sick, and he praised himself, saying, listen, I did everything. I did everything was right. Good in your eyes, Hashem. Chizkiyahu was bragging. Why is he being sick? So, of course, Yeshayahu told him, because your tefillah was accepted, you can live another 15 years.
But you don't want to get married. That's the whole thing.
Oh, 1 second. So it told Yeshayahu, give me your daughter. Anyway, because he bragged about himself, it caused him to do another sin. Because when Yeshayahu told him that he's going to live another 15 years, he says, Ma'ais, give me a sign. That was a chutzpah. That shows that he was chassidei emunah. And Bishvil, because of that he asked Ma'ais, showing that he has chassidei emunah, he did another sin. Nachrim, who were Eivid David Zara, Ochal Shechana, he invited them, they ate at his table. You're not allowed to invite going to eat at your table.
Who's the names? Who's this
What?
Who's the evil one here?
No, Chizkiyahu bragged about himself. He was a tzaddik, but he bragged about himself that he did everything what was right in Hashem. And he davened very strong to Hashem. Hashem listened to him. Yeshayahu came and told him, Hashem accept your tefillah 15 more years. And of course, he understood because he's not having children, like Rabbi Light said. So he said, "Give me your daughter." He married a daughter, and that's how it was. He saw he's going to have Menashe or Russia. But that's what happened. Anyway, so when he became well, we learned in the Gemara before. So the guy said, he came out of such a strong sickness. Everybody said he's going to die. He must be special to Hashem. Let's send him a big present. And they sent the whole entourage from the Chanetz and Vazaradin came with a whole group, and they gave him a present.
A lot of fish.
Huh? One second. Because these people ate on the shulchan, it caused a golus not to him.
Present to him. So why did they eat on his?
Okay,
You're
so
not going to invite Goyim to your sitzur?
no. Here, Messiah lechizkia. I'll bring a right to Chizkia. Dam Chizkia. Kol Amzaman Ovid Kecham L'Seich Beisay Umisham Shalov. Whoever invites going to your table and you serve them, Goyim Golos Labanov. It causes Golos to their children.
So when they make
Shanam.
big dinners and invite
They're Jews.
Yeah, I
Check
think
the bris.
okay, Shanaba. It says by the Teichocha Yishayahu, when Yishayahu saw that this entourage came and gave him a present, so Yishayahu says, "Who are these people? What did you show them?" He says, "I showed them everything." He showed them all, and we're soon going to talk about it. He says, "Because you did this, you invited them to your table. Your children are going to end up in Golis, and they're going to have to work for Nebuchadnezzar." It says, and that's who it was. The Neil, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, they came from Chizkiyahu. They ended up becoming ministers in Nebuchadnezzar. At them, he threw them in a kalchayim. No. So it says, B'Shayahu, here it says the whole story. When the shlichi of Melech Bavel came to Eretz Yisrael, Vayismach Aleim Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu was so happy. Vayarem es kol beis nechesed.
Where are you running?
We're going further. Right. Vayarem es kol beis nechesed. He showed them the whole. We're soon going to talk about the treasures.
What did he show them? Which treasures did he show them?
Chizkiyahu was a king.
Right. So what's
He had beautiful treasures. You're soon going to see.
treasure.
Es hakesef, es hazav, this silver, the gold, es hapsam, es hashem, all kinds of psamim and shem and toiv. It's called base Caleb. It's called Hashem nimtza b'tzveisav. Lo yehoya dava asher lo yeherem Chizkiyahu ve'veis b'chavim shalte. He didn't miss anything. He showed them everything.
Why?
Oh, because he was so happy.
They came to him.
They came to him, yeah. To give him a present, to wish him that I should say no, they came. Amarav have said, my Beis Nechesed. What does it mean, Beis Nechesed? It says, Yimar means the wife of Chizkiah. Why? So, Hishka Saleim gave them to drink. How do we know it means his wife? Because the word not nikui means diminished. Adam Arishon was, the Lashon HaTorah was nikui tzelamei Adam. That side or part of Adam was diminished, and from that became Aisha. That's what Nechai is going on the Isha. Shmuel Amma Beis Genozov. Shmuel says it goes on his treasures. He showed everything. Herelehem. That's what Chizkiah said. Showed them. Rabbi Yechon Amma Zayin Oichel Zayin. He created such a armor that he could break their swords with his swords. He had a special metal that he made that he could break their swords. Herelehem, like today, they came out with a new thing, laser. So they don't have to pay so much money to take off the bombs that come towards Israel. Herelehem, Chizkiah showed them everything. So that's what the Yeshayahu said. They're going to come back, take everything you have, plus your children, and bring them to Golis. Okay. Now, Eicha Yashuvada, Amar Rabba, it says, whoa, they sat in desolate, they sat alone. Amar Rabba, Amar Rabba Yechnem, Ipnei Ma'alaki Yisol Be'eicha. Why? When it comes to the punishment in Eicha, why did they define it with the word Eicha? Why did they use the word Eicha? It says because they were over on the 36 kisses of Shabbat Torah, and the word Eicha is B'Gematria 36.
What is 36 pieces of the Torah?
36 creases, what they are. I mean, it says in Masechta Krisis what they are. It says the whole kinnis in Sefer Eicha, if you look at how it's done, it's set up according to the Aleph base. It says it was a why? Because they were over on what it says in the Torah, which is which is written with the alibase. So the Navi is crying about Yerushalayim is desolate. He said, Amar Rav Yechon. Rav said in the name of Rabbi Yechon, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ani amarti, I said, Vayishken Yisrael betach badat, that the Yidden are going to sit secure, being alone but secure. Ein Yaakov, the eye of Yaakov, El Eretz Dagan, will be a land of grain, V'Sidushem wine, Av Shamav, even the Shamayim, Yar Futol, will rain dew. It will be so good for the Yidden. And they'll be protected from the Chayas, from the enemies, and ultimately Shefa. It says Befedish over here.
Who's saying this?
This is what the Navi said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, that the Yidden officially were destined to have security with grain when they came to Eretz Yisrael. The whole place will be desolate. So what does it mean? The city that will be misrabe with more and more people. Rashi says, what does that mean? A ketana, she's not yet developed. So a baby, if she marries a cotton, his seed is undeveloped, so won't become pregnant. So they made a cheshbon. Let's take a ketana and marry somebody a little bit older, where the seed is such a boy whose seed is already developed. So you'll have a gadol with a ketana, then the ketana will become pregnant. And the same thing.
She can't become pregnant because she has no womb. There's nothing.
She has a womb. We're talking about a ketana that is able, but it's not. It does when the ketanim and the able, but it's not easy. But if you have a gadol shooting sparks over there, that's gonna make her pregnant much faster. And the same thing is the reverse. A cotton it could give off. His seed is good, but it's very, very light. So if you have a woman who's a gedela, she's fully developed, she even a little bit will do the job. So that's how they paired them up.
Who were they?
The Yidden were paired up that way. In order that to have many, many children. Today we don't do it that way. Today it's women's live, men's live.
What if it's one on one, it's not doesn't work.
It's a ketana with a cotton, even though they're developed, it won't happen. It will be much faster if it's a ketana with a gadol, because his seed is much stronger. So the ketana will become pregnant.
What if they both the gedolim?
Yeah, that's for sure good. But he's saying even they want to start from early age.
Oh, okay.
So that was the chesaron. That was the year
That
of
was
Basiyam. That was the
No, that was a Maila. That was a bracha.
bracha.
Yeah, sure.
But you want them alive?
Kedei shehei lahem barim habe, but it was destroyed
So what happened?
because they came in and killed everybody. What do you mean? That was the churban. So you want to haisikaman? She was like a widow, who that's referring to Hashem is like a widow. Why? Not mamsha widow. What does it mean kalmana v'lei amana mamish? So too, HaKadosh Baruch Hu left us, but He's died to He's not going to leave us alone. But right now He left him and Nidin Sayam. Rabba,
That's why it's Amana Falvaya.
Ki Amana, Azeg Amana, Nishta Mamsh Amana. Rabbosi Bagoyim Saras Mamdinas. What does it mean? Amarav Yechnen. The Kavanah is Komak Shein Hilchin. Wherever Yidden go, when even in their captivity, Nasim Saram Ladaneim. At the end, they become leaders. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. Rabbanan gives a story. There was two Yiddelach that were captured in captivity in the Har HaKamel. And the captor was walking behind them. One of the captives said to the other one of the Yiddelach who said to the other, his friend, Gomel, look at this Gomel. That's going before us. This Gomel is blind in one eye. You know, they say about Moshe Dayan. He had a patch. So he was speeding. So the cop stopped him. He says, what are you doing? You're going over 85. He says, listen, I have one eye. I can either look at the speedometer or I look at the road. Which one do you want us to look at? So he says, anyway, Gomel. Here, this camel that's going before us is blind with one eye. Oh, 1 second. The guy thinks they're playing games. And and they're loaded with two barrels. One is wine and one is oil.
Who is loaded with it?
This camel has two, and I'm telling you, one is oil, one is wine. Okay. And the two people that are leading that camel, one is a Jew, one is a guy. This guy, this captain, was so angry. He says, "I'm ksheyodav. You guys are such balgaivenix and machtuf meises. You're just hard-headed. You think you're the smartest people. How do you know all this that you just said?" They said, "Look, Gamal, so a Gamal that's blind with one eye, ma'asam shalafaneha, mitzad sharoya eicheles, only eats from the side that it sees. Mitzad she'ein haroya ein eicheles, but from the side that it doesn't see, it doesn't eat. A stam behema would eat sometimes from one side and sometimes from the other. This Gamal is only eating from the right, only on one side. So it means he's blind on one side. How do they know? Because wine absorbs into the ground, so you'll feel the ground, it's wet. It's absorbed. But if you look on the other barrel, so on the other side where the shaman is, itself, you'll see oil does not absorb. You'll see there's oil on the karka from the leakage. And how do you know? So how do you know that one is a yid, one is a guy? It says a guy is nicht ganz nun. Nicht ganz lies. They gain and they cock in the mitten gas. They make a middle of the street. You saw nifl is nothing. So he says you can see one pile is in the middle of the street and one is on the side. Oh, piss also say the same thing. You saw, I'm saying something that's visible, so it didn't absorb so fast. You saw nifl is nothing. He saw goes to the side.
That's the other country.
Okay.
In the yard over there.
Yeah.
You stop the car in the middle of the
The story goes on, so I'll read from Rashi. He says, and they said, Amrullah. Okay, we'll go a little further and then I'll read from Rashi. He ran after them. And he found it's exactly like they said. So, but before we go to Ba, it says, he says, we want to tell you another thing. Your face looks like the Sar HaMashkin by the Melech. So, your father is the Sar Mashkin. So how do you know that? I'm going to run to my mother. He ran to his mother. She said to him, he says, if you tell me who did it, who told you this, I'll let you, you're all right. If not, I'll have my people kill you. So they told her, he told them, look, these two Yiddelach are saying that. So she says, they're right. That when I was about to get married, the Sar Mashkin, my future chassan, was walked out. Sar Mashkin happened to walk in, and she lived with him, and you came from that bia. That's not one. Then they told her, so the Shabbai brought meat that they should eat. So they told her, he told them this meat, the two Yilach say, it tastes like a dog meat. So he ran to his mother, says, is this dog meat? Says, tell me right now who told you that. If not, says the two Yiddelach. Okay, he says, yeah, it's true. This Keves had a mother and she died, and the dog nursed them. Then he gave wine. They said the wine tastes like a mace, from a mace. So she said, yeah, it's from the grapes that were on your father's grave. Okay, so, and then after hearing all this, he kissed him on the head. He made for them a big suda. He was dancing in front of them. Blessed is this that Abishter chose at Chutam. A guy, a captain. The guy who captured these two Yiddelach. And he says, wherever they go, they become the leaders over their masters. Look, they were telling me everything what's going on. Uftarim, he let them go free, and they went home l'shom. Here he brings down, he gave them a lot of silver and gold, and that's it. He was so excited. Okay, it says in the Eichot twice. Why is two bechis? For both, that's why there were two bechiyas. One for the first place of English, one for the seventh. Second, Balayla, al iske Laila. Laila, because the zera of the bechiyah happened by night. Remember, like it says, by the pashas of the Meraglim, when the Bnei Yisrael believed the Lashon Hara, right? and they believe that they can't get into Eretz Yisrael, they'll never make it. But what does it say? Balayla. They cried that night. Okay. That B'chia of the Ma'aseh Abraham, Lil Tisha B'Av Haya. It was the night of Tisha B'Av. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to the Yidden, Atem B'chis B'chia Shel Chinam. You're crying a B'chia Shel Chinam. I will establish for you B'chila Deis that the Chumma by Yisrish and Sheni will be destroyed on Tisha B'Av. Another Pshat. What is Balayla? Whoever cries at night, the voice is heard more than somebody cries by day. Another. So he brings down Rashi because the orbit of the sun blocks the curl from going through, blocks the echo of the kailas. Another pshat. Balayla. They are Baladea, and they cry with them. So whoever hears that voice of somebody crying at night ends up crying with that person. Where do we see that? A story with one woman. She was a shchena, a neighbor to Rabbi Gamliel. Her son died, and she used to cry at night. Rabbi Gamliel heard her voice, and he started to cry. Till the eye, the hair, what do you call this? Eyelids, the eyelashes fell out from the tears. Next day, the Talmidim didn't realize what's going on. Right, so you Mishchuna said they took her out of the shchuna over there because Rabbi Gamliel was going to get sick from her. Every night he was crying.
She's crying.
So he's crying also. It says the tears on the cheeks. Amar Rabba Yechonina. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. The Isha Shabich Shal Al Bal Noara. It's a woman that cries over her young husband who died young. She's never like it says in the pasuk. Eli is meaning cries. Knesset Yisrael cries. Kipsul Chagurus Sak. Like a young woman who's with sackcloth, Albal Nora over her young husband who died. Whoever oppresses Yidden, tortures Yidden, he becomes a leader. And the person who's oppressing doesn't become tired. It says, now, when Melech Ashur, the first Golus, when he came to exile the Yidden, it was easy for him to exile those that sat in Zvulun, in the land of Zvulun and the land of Naphtali. He right away exiled them. But the last one was a much harder gullus. The third time, Sanhedrin came and he took all the Yidden. The second time, he took those on the other side of the Yarden, which was Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi, Shevet, Menashe. But the last time that he came, the third Gullus, he took all the Yidden into exile.
He came a few times back.
3 times, yes. 3 times.
I thought that they took care of it in one time.
No.
It's like down in Israel, they're fighting 3 times already.
Here. If you want to see how he terminizes, it will say, Derech Hayam, by the border of the Yam, Eretz Naphtali HaYesheves Hayam Tveria, Eretz Zvulun HaYesheves Al-Chayf Hayam HaGodel. Zu HaGolus HaRishayna. Eva HaYadein, that was Reuven, Gad, and Chatz Menashe. Zu HaGolus HaShniya. Uglil HaGoyim, Kol Eretz Yisrael. That says Zu HaGolus HaShlish. That was the third Golus. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that they won't, those that are oppressing the Yidden, they will have supernatural keiches to oppress us. Because they were doing the shlichus of the Eibishter, and the Eibishter said, I'm going to give them keiches. Shekol HaMatzik LeYisrael, Ein Oyef. Whoever's going to oppress the Yidden will not become tired. Sagt the Gemara, Lo Yaleim Kol Eiber Adecha. When Yirmiyah Hanavi came to say about the Shevet Yehuda, that they were exiled, he was telling the 10 Shvatim, not on you. You have to say that. Amar Rabba Yochanan, Mekan L'Kavlanim and Atira. From this pasuk, it's a mocker that when a person's Mediyah Tzara, that's happening to him, you should say, not on you. Okay, Kol Evrei Darach.
What do you mean not on you?
It shouldn't, whatever is happening to him should not happen to you. The tzara that's happening in should not happen to you. He says, saying it to say not on you. Kol oivrei adarach, Omer Av Amar Amar Av, Asa Unei Ke'oivrei al Das. They compared Yerushalayim who sinned to the Anshe Zdaim who are Oivrei al Das. Dilu b'Zdaim see by Zdaim it says, Hashem him tal Zdaim, Hashem made it rain on Zdaim, Gafis v'Eish, the Shvebel, how do you say, sulfur and fire. Dilu b'Yerushalayim see by Yerushalayim it says, Mimarim from up high, Sholach Eish b'Atzma, Yisai by Yedena. It says Hashem sent the fire in my bones by Yedana, and he burnt here. Okay, so Yerushalayim was also punished with fire like Zdoim. It says Vayigdal Avoin Bas Amim Chatas Zdoim. It says those that sinned in Yerushalayim was greater than the ones in Zdoim. It was favoritism for Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim were bigger sinners, and Zdoim was turned over, and Yerushalayim still exists. Amar Rava Yechnem Mida Yisera Hoysa b'Yerushalayim Shala Hoysa b'Zdoim. There was a greater midah in Yerushalayim. Either you can learn a midah tova or midah ra. Midah tova, let's learn. There was a greater midah in Yerushalayim than Zdaim. The Ilu Zdaim Ksiv. He they say Hoya Avoin Zdaim. This behold, this was the Avoin Zdaim. Achis Goyin Shivas Lachem. They were deprived with a lot of food, but b'yad Anu b'Yavin lo yachzika. They would not give up a stitch of food to the aniyim. The Ilu Yerushalayim Ksiv. Yedei Noshim Rachmaniyas Bishlu Yaldeyam. There was such a hunger, so they cooked their children, but they invited other people to eat from it. So they were very gracious to other people. Of Zeir Kinder, Nebuch, there was a big hunger. Others say, no, the pshat is, that was the punishment, as strong as turning over Zdoim, that they had to eat their kids. It's two pshat from Rashi.
So who are we talking about?
Yerushalayim, that says that the people at that time in Yerushalayim sinned much greater sin than Zdoim. So the Gemara says, what is the favoritism for Yerushalayim? Zdaim was turned over, Yerushalayim still exists, right? So it says, two pshat in Yerushalayim.
Also was destroyed.
Yeah, but not desolate that you can never rebuild it.
No, they covered it with salt. They plowed the whole Yerushalayim.
But Zdaim is, David turned over Zdaim, never to be built again. Oh, that's what he was saying. Two pshat, midah teva, because they allowed other people to participate in the children that they were eating. It was a midah teva. Or faket, the etzem zach that they were even eating their children. That was the punishment. Okay, sila kol abidei adonai bekivi. Sila he pressed, he trotted all the mighty ones. Bekivi in the midst. It's like a person says a precious coin got all this trampled on and erased and became invalidated. It says the Oiva Yerushalayim opened their mouths to laugh. Why does it say? And you said the whole alabase is in order when it comes to Eicha, but the pay is written before the ayin. Why? And the Meraglim said with their mouths, pay means pihem. Ayin means einayim. They spoke what they didn't see with their eyes. They lied. Okay. No, ayin first, 70, and then pay. But it was written pay before the ayin when it comes to Eicha, if you look in the order of the words. They didn't call Hashem. Whoever eats from the lechem of Yisrael, they can taste the lechem. They don't taste bread. Hashem loikaru. Rav Amma Ila Dayonim. What does it mean? Hashem loikaru? These are the Dayonim that falsify the mishpat. They're crooked people, and therefore the goyim, the enemies, steal from them, and they eat their lechem. So that's when they love that lechem that they steal from the yidden. That's the real lechem. These teachers who teach children and they're not an example, they're the ones that cause that the Oivim should steal the lechem from the Yidden, and by then, and to them that's more chasher because the lechem tastes like lechem. So you want to be mana. Who enumerate these people that they shouldn't get Olam Haba? Amar Abashi, Anshe Knesset HaGdola, no. The Anshe Knesset HaGdola are the ones that chose. That said, these are the people. Amar Abi Yehuda Amar Rab, Bikshu Oidlim Leisechot. They wanted to add Shlomo HaMelech on the list that he shouldn't get Olam Haba. Amad Musdi Yoikn Shal Aviv Nicht stattgelefneim.
So
David HaMelech.
Who wanted to put him in?
The Anshe Knesset wanted to add Shlomo HaMelech amongst those.
Yeah, somebody why?
Because he at the end he blocked all the gates from entering into Yerushalayim. He built the Pari's daughters a palace to block everything.
David HaMelech.
Shlomo
HaMelech.
HaMelech. Yeah. So the David HaMelech came in Admus and he bowed. To say, don't do it. They didn't listen to him. But a fire came and singed the bench of the Anshe Knesset Agdola. They didn't care. Yatz Baskel Yamalahem. Chazisa Ishmael b'm lachte b'lehem b'lach misatzev. Ko yisatzev bal yisatzev l'fnei chashukim. He said, you have seen a person who was swift in his malacha. He should sit in front of the righteous king, not in front of the evil kings. Shlomo HaMelech was marketing to build the Beis HaMikdash before his own house. Hashem says, my house he built in 7 years. His house he prolonged, he took his time. His own house he took time, 13 years. So he cared about Hashem more. He should sit in front of the righteous kings. He shouldn't sit before these shoyim malachim that are not zeicha. The Baskel, this Baskel still didn't listen. Yatz Baskel v'yamar. And Baskel went out. He says, he says, who? You're the ones that you're going to decide who should get Elam Haba or not. You're going to choose and not me.
Who's the Baskel speaking to?
To the Anshe Knesset Agdola. That you're going to choose, you Anshe Knesset Agdola, you're going to choose who should go, who should get Elam Haba, who not.
What is compared to 7 and 13? But
So David said, it's me. That's it. I'm going to have to stop.
it took 13 years was a chassaron.
No, it was a miler. For himself, he didn't care. He didn't have to build it. He didn't need a palace right away. For the base, no, the Beis HaMikdash, it took 7 years. His own house, he took a much longer time.